All right, it's time for Yogi and the Beachman. Hi, I'm Jim the Yogi.
And I'm Rick Beach the Beachman.
We're two Michigan transplants now living in Southwest Florida.
In fact, we're cousins born in 1964, just a month apart.
I like to meditate.
And I like to play bass in a band.
I'm into chanting Om.
And I'm into throwing down some classic rock.
But together, we're on a mission
to promote people that are helping other people.
We want to make the world a better place.
One conversation at a time.
So sit back.
Turn up the volume.
And get ready to laugh.
Because we like to have fun
while we spread the love.
Interviewing lovely people. Yes, we have fun.
Welcome back to Yogi and the Beachman. Today we are with Chris Jones, aka Shred Rogers. Welcome to the show, Chris. Or would you prefer I call you Shred or Chris?
Oh no, you can call me Chris.
All right,
Shred
Chris.
Rogers is just the name of my project that I chose, and then also this version of me on stage. I'll probably be called that, but no, Chris is just fine. I appreciate you asking.
Yeah, cool. So, Chris, you know me. We've known each other for I don't know how many years. We met back in a small church in Kalamazoo, Michigan.
Yes.
Yeah, I was working as the youth minister then, and you were coming into the church with your son and your wife, and just great people. I'm glad we've stayed in contact.
Yes, me too.
And this is my cousin Rick.
Rick, hello.
Hi, how you doing, Chris?
Fantastic. How are you?
Awesome. Yeah, and it was interesting listening to your music today. Really.
Oh, you had a chance to listen to it.
I got about 30 minutes of shredded me today.
Nice. That's a good helping.
It was.
Yeah, get all that drum beat going, get pumped up.
That's one thing. I was coming back from Sarasota and I was in traffic and it was getting late and the sun was in my eyes and I'm tired. I'm like, all right, I got 41 minutes home. And I had some samples throughout the afternoon, but I said, I'm just going to go right through this whole album. And I probably listened to half of every song, kind of noticed kind of what you were doing there. It was kind of interesting.
Well, thank you. I appreciate you taking the time for that.
Yeah. So Chris, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, so I'm Chris Jones, and I'm a foster adopt father, and I live in Southwest Michigan, and I work for an environmental consulting company as my day job, and I've been playing music I'm going to be 46 this weekend, so
Happy
at this
birthday.
point that'll be 30 years. I've been playing electric guitar, bass guitar, and then classical. In about the last 10 years, I've started doing that, and yeah, when the pandemic had happened, at that point, I was not really playing much music, but because of the pandemic and then the loss of my father around that time, I was able to take a hiatus from my consulting job. And once I had gone through taking care of my father's end of life affairs and just doing some soul searching, I decided, I'm going to really work hard and try to do something musically again. I used to be in a band, I still am in a band called A Dark Halo, based out of Austin, Texas. We started writing new music in 2018, but prior to that, we released one album in 2006, and or 2004, 2006. I can't remember the year, but yeah. So I've always played a style of music that's heavy. I listened to like Metallica and Pantera and a lot of really heavy bands growing up. Getting into even like really heavy European groups, and when I decided to go back to making music around 2023, I think is when I released my first single as Shred Rogers. I wanted to take that heaviness, but come from a place of love rather than hate or anger, because I think that you can use it's a fast, upbeat way of performing and listening, and I think that can translate in a positive way. So that was the goal with Shred Rogers.
I like that because I like the music. I'll be honest, I don't listen to it all the time, but I do like it. But I don't like a lot of the lyrics, like you said. They're kind of dark and angry, and so having the same music with a new spin on it and having the light and love in the music, I like that.
Thank you. Yeah,
and as I was sampling your catalog today, or that mostly the Circle album, notice is it just the one song with lyrics? I know there's snippets of phrases here and there and some of the others, but
yeah. So I guess I need to go back a little bit as far as what the earliest seed that has become this was. I've been fostering children for well over 10 years, and I now have 3 children of my own. We've adopted all 3. So 3 of those placements became our adopted children. And when we had our first adopted son, he was much younger. Around that time, I hadn't been playing for a while, but I wanted to just bust out the electric guitar and play some fast guitarist. And he really liked the Wheels in the Bus. So I started just kind of noodling around and making my own version of the Wheels in the Bus. And I thought, oh, this is kind of neat. Like, a lot of times you'll hear nursery rhyme versions of popular music, but I haven't heard much like renditions of nursery rhymes in a modern style, right? So I ended up recording a demo, and at the time I called it Daddy Death Metal, and released that, just a small demo version on YouTube, and then just didn't think much of it. Went on to just be a working dad. And it was about 2021. I went on YouTube and I noticed that my video had like 53,000 views or something like that.
That was for me, Chris.
What's that?
That was for me. I watched it a lot.
Thank you. But it really surprised me because I hadn't marketed myself at all. And I thought, well, there must be something here. So fast forward then to when those life changes were happening. I decided, I'm really going to just go all in and try to make this something. So I took the inspiration and energy of Mr. Rogers, Fred Rogers.
I was wondering about that.
Yep.
Okay,
yep, it's a play on his name, only because I've always loved that he was a, at least, came across to us as an unconditionally loving human being that was accepting of everyone. And I wanted to have that energy go into what became this character. The design was originally inspired by Children's Crayon Box, because a lot of times you'll have bands like Kiss where they have the black and the white, so it's like, okay, all the colors in the white instead. So I could still be that like shock rock character, but again, it's coming from a place of positivity. So when the album was being developed, I re-recorded the Wheels in the Bus, and I started doing more nursery rhymes. So all of the songs on the album are, with lyrics and vocals, are actually nursery rhymes, or with the exception of one of the opening pieces is called Good Morning. So I'm only just growling or whatever, good morning, in that one. But the rest of the songs are instrumentals that also had been written over many, many years. And at least, let's see, the song Love and the song Heart and the song Jib, those were all songs I had written, inspired, and gave to people, because something about them inspired me to just use my gift and give it to them. So then I thought, I'm going to make this a album experience that mixes the kids' music, but with my original instrumental pieces that are inspired by the loss of a friend, the birth of a child. Heart and Soul are very self-explanatory. It's trying to get across that the heart energy that that might inspire you to do something, and then the soul, the very first song on the CD version, is like what a soul would sound like with with a guitar ringing out in the beginning, but the album is very much also designed as a listening experience from start to finish as a album. Not a lot of bands release albums these days like I remember listening to growing up, like concept records, if you will. So yeah, if you happen to listen to it sometime and you give it a shot and listen from start to finish, if you have a CD version, or even I think you can do it on the streaming version, put it on repeat, because it's also designed to repeat. The last song actually feeds into the first.
Oh, nice.
Yep.
Nice. Where did you get this idea?
Oh, lots of. Well, I guess the easiest answer would be being a foster parent. You purposely put yourself in a world of darkness and trauma to take children out of that and try to make something beautiful, give them a chance, right?
Yeah.
But I didn't realize until I went into it that was very. There are challenging moments, so I had to wrestle with darkness, and then
Hmm.
the loss of my father. That's also a significant loss that I was wrestling with, and then the whole reason I started playing guitar as a teenager, I was bullied heavily in junior high, and so I found the guitar as an outlet again to deal with big feelings and uh, darkness and maybe traumatic experiences. So all those things combined were the reason why I thought, I want to just take all this because it's all made me who I am. As far as I'm always striving to be a good person and don't let that stuff defeat me. But I want
Hmm.
to take that and make something meaningful. So like I'm processing all of my stuff, and hopefully I'll inspire others to, you know, follow their own dreams, pick up a guitar for the first time, not be afraid to express themselves in this style of music, right?
Hmm.
All of
So
those things.
when the pandemic happened, you saying you'd mentioned you're in the environmental consulting business.
Yeah.
Did the pandemic kind of put a stop to your work, or was that a choice?
Oh no, it didn't. No, the work did not stop at all. Um,
Okay.
and, and I personally am not a scientist that involved in the company. I worked in the marketing department, and I still do. I work in business development now, but my role in it was, you guys probably remember, it's like all this stuff was happening. We didn't know what was going to happen. It was scary at
Hmm.
times. We were afraid on, I don't want to get this. And well, we have a lot of field staff out working, and that's just the nature of that business. If there's like a transmission line going in, we have to send out archaeologists and biologists and project managers and planners and all these people, and that work's not going to stop. So my role then became, um, I was asked to contact all of the offices that we have throughout the U.S., make sure they had their safety supplies. As we, as a country and the world, were learning about this disease and what could help, at least prevent people getting sick. My life for a few months became, checking the government
Like
websites, the health website.
COVID response team.
Yep, yep, and just making sure, okay, this is what works. This seems, the science is showing that these cleaning supplies will work. So I had to contact all these offices, make sure all their admins had supplies. There was even moments where, in the beginning, because everybody was going out and buying stuff out,
Hmm.
somebody in Texas may be having a hard time to get like cleaning supplies, and I had to just go to my local Meijer here in Michigan, and personally, and because thankfully, being in a smaller town, it's like they didn't sell it as fast,
Just
right?
the toilet paper, right?
Exactly.
It's like,
Yeah. So all of that, that's what had happened. So that whole experience made me realize. I mean, I'm a very empathic person, so like just I care very deeply about people by my nature, and all that caring really wiped me out, like burned me out.
sure.
Um, and then coupled with the fact that around that time we were fostering our second and third children, so they were coming into our homes, and we're learning how to deal with that, the changes. But then also my dad was nearing his deathbed, if you will. So all that stuff combined led to burnout, and then I had the opportunity um, to resign in good standing, and I didn't really know what I was going to do other than help my father near the end of his life. And then, yeah,
So you resigned from your job?
And then decided to go music full time.
yeah. I mean, it was kind of. I actually was working as a case aide for a while with the local foster
Did some
organizations.
side gig. You were working still in that, doing some side gig stuff. That's cool.
Okay.
A friend of mine did that for still a really good friend of mine. I don't know if you've ever seen him, ADHD.
The band?
Yeah.
I think so.
Yeah, with
Oh,
Chuck
that's a
there.
cool.
And yeah, it's 80 dash HD. So,
Yeah.
and he's a really good buddy of mine. And
Weren't they at All Stars that night we were there?
I think so.
Yeah.
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 And
Yeah.
and he was always in the lawn business and sold cars and, always worked hard to raise his family and stuff like that. But then when his kids were gone, he's like, heck with it. So I'm going to do what makes me happy. And he built a studio out in his garage, and now he produces local guys. He plays in a 4 or 5 piece ADHD band. And then he also has a duo with another guy that are really exceptional. But yeah, just chasing the dream. And it's got to be cool when you can say, yeah, you said you resigned in good standing. That's always great, to never burn any bridges if you don't have to.
Right.
But just to not really care and just say, I'm just going to go for this, just say a prayer, and let's go.
Do what you love.
Exactly. It took a lot of strength and faith. And really, so really the catalyst for quitting or resigning at the time was my father was diagnosed with a terminal illness and was going into hospice.
Mm.
And I had, with my choices in life, I had built up enough savings that I could survive about 3 months without work. So I was going to take a risk with, okay, I'm resigning to go to Arizona and take care of my father, because that's where he lived. But within a week after I had resigned, he passed. So I didn't get a chance to actually see him before he passed, unfortunately.
That's a
Yeah,
bummer.
sorry about that.
Yeah. But he was a huge music fan, big vinyl fan also, and he loved the music that I was creating with my other band, A Dark Halo, and he had heard some of the demo pieces of what became Songs on the Circle. So I just felt like I gotta really do something for myself. So there was a selfish aspect to it, but it was coming from a place of I'm burnt out. I need to re-energize and do something for others and myself,
Mm-hmm. I'm just curious. How does this work with, you're in a band, you're in Michigan, but you're in a band that's in Austin, Texas. How does that work?
Yeah. Well, so thankfully, we were kind of ahead of the time when Dark Halo first began. It was my friend Dave Lowmiller and I. We were a two-piece in a studio, and he built a studio in his home in 2002. So from like 2002 through like 2004 or so, we just would work on the songs and record them when it wasn't very common. He was working in the video game industry as a composer, so he had a little bit more disposable income than I would have had at that time. So he just kind of used his knowledge he was getting at there to build a home space, and we released the album because we're both multi-instrumentalists, so we were able to be a band as two people. So I used that knowledge to then build my own home studio now, and the technology has advanced so much
Yeah.
that it's a lot easier now. So when we decided to do new songs in 2018 as A Dark Halo, you can, like, I'm talking to you on a MacBook, right? I
Mhm.
can download the software on the MacBook and just plug in they call it an audio interface
Yeah.
that I can plug my guitar into, I can plug my microphone into, and then you open programs that emulate an amplifier, all the effects you want. So you plug in, you make it sound like you want. I record my tracks, and I send them over Google Drive to them. And what was really fascinating is that band has now grown to, there's 5 of us in the group, in the project, in different locations too. But we found a producer in the Netherlands. His name is Tomster Studios is his studio.
Okay.
So what we do is we take our tracks after we kind of make a demo of what we want it to sound like. We send him all the files over the internet. And I found this out after he had done a few songs. I didn't realize how cool he is, but he will take the tracks with no effects on it, so it's just the clean performance. He then models our sounds using real amps there, puts the microphones in front of the amps, plays our take, and it comes out, and then he captures them with analog.
That is so cheating. That is so cheating. That does not count.
Well, I mean, it's cheating, but it's also
it's ingenious
It
cheating.
is.
Yeah.
I've never even thought about that, because I'm a purist.
Yeah.
I like, if I go to see a band, I don't want to see everything plugged into the PA through some processors and out
Right.
PA system. I want
Right.
real amps mic'd up.
Yep.
Especially bass. It sounds so much fuller and bigger. But to take that straight in, so you probably play like a Kramer guitar or some other speed metal guitar like that, right?
No, well, I play a Schecter guitar,
Okay, Schecters.
an ESP,
Yeah,
but I play Fenders too. Fender, and I have a Gibson. So
but
yeah. So the nice thing though about that producer, you know, and then I used him for my Shred Rogers. It is analog captured material, even though we performed it and originally recorded it digitally. You know, what ends up becoming on the master tape is mic'd. You know, so it's using real amplifiers at that point.
yeah,
That's pretty cool.
if you look at it, it's really not much difference, is it, than playing through a pedal board? It's kind of the same thing. You just have an interface between you and the amplifier.
Right. But I totally agree with you. I mean, I like real sounds too. And the only reason that we're doing it this way and I'm doing it this way is because I can't afford any other way. And we live in a time that it's easier to make professionally sounding music cheaper, right?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, and the
And you
guys
don't have to
not
travel.
and back, before Pro Tools, really before 2000,
Mhm.
you didn't have a choice as an artist. You had to go get a publicist or an agent and go
Yep.
hopefully get a record deal with some independent label, or if you're not getting picked up by Sony. And if you're not in that genre of, how there's not very many feel good speed metal artists out there.
Right.
And so, but now, fast forward 25 years, you have the ability to self publish. And like you said, 53,000 YouTube views. That is not a drop in the bucket.
No, it's
That's a
impressive.
great head start. And, uh,
Thank you.
and I think folks that are, well, I'm sure you know this, but I've heard many times that people that are attracted and that prefer that your kind of speed metal more. Is that what you'd call it? Speed metal? That's what I always call it.
Well, I mean the faster stuff, if I was being asked what I make, it's I call it like a progressive metal, really.
But that would be good. But then, like a couple of your songs, like I made notes here, like "Love." I wrote "Love dash cool song," but that is far not a speed metal song.
Exactly.
I mean, you could meditate. You could seriously go to do a 4.5 minute meditation to some of your stuff.
Exactly.
So it really took you on a journey from the peace and harmony to, okay, let's get amped up and then let's go back.
Exactly. Yeah, so
Okay,
because like
I wrote a little like sine wave on my
oh,
notes.
thank you. Yeah, yeah. My intention was to mix a lot of my influences. And I love like the European groups that I emulated, or at least brought some of the influence in from my, because it's become part of me, is groups like Dimmu Borgir and Emperor, and they're called black metal bands, which unfortunately they are, a lot of times those are satanic bands. See, and
Mhm.
that's like I love the expression. I don't like that it comes from that place. And as I've
Right.
gotten older, and I consider myself a spiritual minded person, I don't want that in my,
In
like
your
I don't want to
universe.
make music that's coming from that place, even though I love the speed and the complexity of the music. So that, like Baba Black Sheep is the most closest example of one of my songs that's that style. They it's the drums that it's like the blast beat where you have like the bass and the snare going off each other like that. That's a hallmark of that genre. I mean, you're not I'm not correcting you. I mean, speed metal certainly can be um,
But,
a sub.
but that album is not you couldn't classify it as a speed metal album because it changes so much.
Right. Yeah,
You're
there's
in and out of that.
a band, Dream Theater, is a big influence for me. They call themselves progressive metal.
And there's some bigger rock names in that band, right?
Mike Portnoy is the drummer.
Okay. Yeah.
Um, they had one hit in the early '90s. It goes, "Pull me under, pull me under," but that's one one of their songs. So they had like the higher range
Right.
stuff, and Yeah, I mean, even like Pink Floyd is an influence, like
Oh, for sure.
just the prog rock stuff. That's very much where like some of that influence in my album, The Circle, is.
Well, what I was saying, a point I was going to make earlier and got sidetracked was that I've heard many times that people that are attracted and listen to that speed metal type of music
Right.
have way above average intelligence.
Mm.
Oh,
There you go, Chris.
thank you.
I've
I
heard
don't.
that several times.
Well,
And like when you watch The Big Short, I don't know if you know that movie with Steve Carell about the 2008 real estate bust. That the guy who figures it all out, he spends his entire afternoon playing drums with his earphones on, listening to speed metal
ah,
and looking at computer screens and making billions, in the stock
wow,
market.
wow.
But and personally, I know of a few folks that after I heard that, I said, well, that makes sense because she's really smart. Megan's friend's mom, Debbie,
Yeah.
she was you come in, she's always listening to Marilyn Manson and just really heavy stuff.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
and she had a PhD in nursing and was a
Interesting. Yeah.
cardiology nurse.
Wow.
She's smart.
Yeah.
Wow.
So I'm looking at this sine wave that Rick drew on his notes over here and thinking about your album, how it starts out low and builds up and then crests and comes back down. Have you ever heard of kirtan music?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay, you're familiar. I don't think you're familiar with kirtan, are you?
Spell it. I'm not, but
Kirtan.
no, I'm not.
Okay, it comes out of India. Um, it's a very spiritual music. It's designed to awaken your chakras. We've talked about chakras
Mhm.
before, the energy centers in the body. But when kirtan is performed, it starts out at a low rate. The tempo builds, it peaks, and then it slows back down. It's usually all the same music, all the same lyrics. They're just changing the tempo,
Mm-hmm.
speeding it up to a point where you're just rocking, and then they bring it back down and slowly fade out at the end.
Mm-hmm.
It kind of, I don't know, made me think of that. Uh, Is that kind of the thought of your album? Because you're saying to listen to it from beginning to end.
Yeah. As I was putting together the structure and finishing each song over time, it took me about a year and a half to write and record everything, because I did record it all myself. Every
Drums,
instrument you hear
everything,
on there.
is every piece of music yours?
It is. It's all me. Other
Wow.
than I started having a guitar student in August of 2023.
Mm-hmm.
He actually, him and his younger brother, at the time they recorded, they were 13 and 16. I did actually have put them on the Brahms Lullaby, Von Shred, the second to last song. They're doing the actual percussion in a studio here locally, because I wanted to give them the opportunity to be on an album that's being listened to worldwide as kids, to kind of help inspire them on their journey, because they're really blossoming into some great musicians themselves. But everything else is me. Yep.
Oh, that's really cool that you did that for them to give them a taste of
That
that.
is,
And
that is cool.
yeah,
Yep.
So did that. So while they must be pretty good musicians, or they wouldn't have got invited.
Well, they are great at where they're at. Like, I mean, I've
Sure.
heard them. Um, they're continuing to progress and blossom. We actually, the three of us, play in a local church. We go to a United Methodist church here, and so that's been my performing regularly live, has been in that environment. So I've been able to see them blossoming, and what gave me the idea to put them on the album was when I realized I wanted to play music at age 16. My mom was working at State Farm, and she had a coworker that had a husband who was a musician locally in Arizona. He plays in a group. It's called, well, he's no longer in the band, but they're called the Celtic Cowboys, and it's like Celtic folk rock.
Irish type stuff.
mm-hmm.
Yeah, very high Irish. And so I had a chance to shadow him while they were recording their album there in Arizona, and I'll never forget it, because it was my eyes were opened, and he was very the gentleman was one of the singers, and he was a guitar player. The day I went in, their fiddle player was recording a solo for the debut song on the album, and just having that interaction has stuck with me ever since. Like, he took the time to show me what it's like to be a studio musician, And even though I'm recording everything at home now, in my past, I have had studio experience too, and very much wish the world was older in a way that I could still do that and afford
Mhm.
it. But I thought, I'm gonna I want to give them that kind of an experience because these kids um, have so much ambition that I'm mentoring, and I thought to myself, if I give them that, maybe that will just be something that they'll remember when they're my age, and they're blossoming in their own careers in some way. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
And
awesome.
hopefully take your inspiration of saying, heck with the 9 to 5, and I'm gonna do it my way or the highway, and show them what hard work and resilience does.
exactly. Yep.
And who came up with the logo behind you, Shred Rogers?
I hand drew a version of it,
Okay.
and I hired a artist on Fiverr.com. It's a website where you can find artists from all over the world, literally, and you just try to find somebody that looks like they might be around what you want and then your price range, and then you hire them like a freelance artist,
Okay.
And I don't remember the gentleman's name off the top of my head, but he lives in another country. It's not Poland, but that was a Polish artist is who I hired to do the elements of the cover of my album. Yep.
Are you able to move to the side so we
Oh,
can
sure.
see the full?
Yeah, I can try to there.
Yeah,
That's
that's
pretty
awesome.
cool.
So the first band that I was ever really deeply into was Metallica. They have a logo where the
Yeah.
M and the A kind of have those sharp edges like that.
Mm-hmm.
And I wanted to make something where, you can if I was to take everything out of it and put the S's together, it would kind of make a cool symbol. And it's really the same logo. It's the same thing but flipped. You
Yeah.
know?
Oh yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and that also kind of just I mean, the logo was made before I knew I wanted to make a concept album, but it also kind of is a circle. If you were to
Right.
imagine it being two S's and turning,
Yeah.
it's endless. Um,
You
I
put a
think you
lot of
asked.
thought into these different things. I like that.
Oh yeah, I put a lot of thought into it. I mean, what I do for the environmental consulting company. I don't know if I mentioned this, is I do market research. So the nature of my job is deep thinking and trying to locate opportunities for our company as we're growing geographically and trying to find new clients and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Who are your clients?
Oh, all kinds of federal jobs. Will sometimes get local cities and counties and um, sometimes state representatives, um, energy companies, um, engineering companies. We'll actually team up with them. Sometimes they're doing the heavy engineering work, and then we're doing the environmental consulting, like the permitting and then like I mentioned, let's say there's a road project going in and ground is being broken up and somehow a tribal burial is found or a body is found. Maybe we would bring in a tribal consultant or somebody who handles human remains, right? Like one of our scientists would go out and determine, yes, this is a tribal burial, and we need to now contact the local tribe and relocate before the project can continue being built. And then
You
also
didn't find Jimmy Hoffa though, right?
uh, we've been moving from the west of the United States over, so
Okay.
Yeah, they're pretty sure he's under the Meadowlands in New Jersey.
Yeah. Do you remember when what was the name? Rialdo Rivera or
Geraldo.
Geraldo Rivera was like for certain he was in this one room in at the lower part of this building and he had this huge episode on TV where he's gonna unearth Jimmy Hoffa.
That was
It was an empty
different.
room.
That was like Al Capone's fault.
Oh yeah.
That was the Geraldo. And then it turned out to be a whole lot of nothing.
Right.
But I think he also did a thing where they took some ground penetrating radar to the Meadowlands Stadium in New Jersey and
Yeah.
also tried and
Yeah.
wow.
no avail. Jimmy Huff was gone.
Yeah.
But I remember when that was such a big story because we
Oh,
both
yeah.
grew. Well, you know this. Well, we both grew up in south of Detroit, so and it all happened right there in town. But heck, we were probably 10.
Yeah, we're young.
In the mid 70s.
Yeah.
Yeah, wasn't there a conspiracy idea that he also could be in some building in Detroit too?
Inside the concrete, or
Yeah.
There's all kinds of
conspiracy theories on
but
it.
and now some of these guys are dying off, so someone's gonna give a deathbed confession or something like that. Maybe.
Maybe. Yeah. So
Yeah.
going back to your album, The Circle, where did you come up with the logo design for the album?
Well, once I realized that I wanted to make something that kind of told a story, at least from start to finish, just like starting in one place, going up and down, and then ending. I had I had a song that I wrote called Heart and Soul, and I decided to do like the split where the first part of the song is the last track, and the second
Mhm.
part of the song is the first track.
Mm.
So that if you figure it out as a listener and you put your CD on repeat, it will repeat, be endless, an endless CD. That the idea that came from a spiritual idea of the endless soul or God or the universe, the energies, right?
Mhm.
I wanted to make something that kind of was looked like Earth, but in a metaphysical way, or in
Okay.
like a spirit realm way. So I first hired an artist to do a watercolor painting, but it wasn't quite what I wanted. So then I found out about AI. Was kind of at the time was just starting to get new, and heck, it's crazy to think that was only a year ago that it's felt like it was fresh and new, right? And now how AI is
Mhm.
exploding. But there's free resources you can use where you put in, like, I uploaded the artwork and then gave it keywords of what I wanted, and it will then just generate what it thinks you want. And I had
Mhm.
tried, I think, over 60 times before that piece um, was generated. And then I have a friend, Andy Ensweiler Creative, is who put together like all the pieces of the album. Like there's internal artwork and stuff, but he cleaned up the edges. Like it actually kind of expanded out more outside of what is the clean looking circle on the border.
Yeah,
So he cleaned it up for me.
I like it.
Yep.
It's kind of got like a hippie feel too, for me, because of the different colors
Well,
and
yeah,
whatnot. Like a tie dye.
definitely a tie dye, cool vibe to it, kaleidoscope.
Yeah.
Or it
Yep.
also could be like an up close of a of an eye
Yeah.
of
I
a
was just thinking
pupil.
that.
Oh
Yeah.
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 Yep.
Yeah.
And there's so many, aspects to us as human beings, right? I mean, we're
Hmm.
complex, and then the world's complex, and the universe is complex, and feelings are complex.
Yeah.
Um, if do you mind if I give kind of a brief description of each song? They
No,
do.
Please.
for
Yeah.
sure.
Go ahead.
Yeah, so Soul is part two of a piece I called Heart and Soul. And that really is just kind of like an Enya-esque soundscape of keyboard
Hmm.
layers. Good Morning. That was actually composed because I decided I wanted to do a heavy progressive version of Brahms' Lullaby. And because that,
Can Can
what's
you
that?
give us one of those good mornings that you do in the song?
Well, it's multiple vocals. I
Okay.
am actually singing it a little bit. It's Good Morning. And I'm going, Good Morning. And then good morning. Like all that stuff's going on.
Yeah.
Um, yep. So that's like, you're waking up, your soul, you're a soul, you're waking up, and then it then flows into the song Alive. And Alive was the first piece I wrote with this intention of being Shred Rogers. And this was actually my FU to the pandemic. So that's why it's very like fast and um I kind of try to approach it almost like if Metallica and Joe Satriani were doing a song together.
All
So,
right.
so that's why it's fast. It's in your face. It's kind of short. Bob,
I mentioned to you earlier
yeah.
that I'd listened to most of the record, and Joe Satriani popped in my head more than once.
Wow.
Oh, sweet.
More than
Thank you.
once.
Thank you.
And a little bit of Joe Bonamassa at times.
Oh, wow. That's a heck of a compliment. Thank you. John Petrucci is a really big influence on me. Though I don't think that of those three players I'm anywhere close. Really, I really had to push myself to play some of these parts. But
It's cool stuff.
Baba Black Sheep then is my first reimagined kids song, and this one the first half of that is actually an old song I wrote when I used to be on a podcast called Only the Valiant, and it was a podcast where we just talked about well, they're actually back out now, but it's a comic company called Valiant. I repurposed that instrumental, and then the second half is the nursery rhyme proper. And because it's a black sheep and black metal is the influence here, that was why that song is in that style. This song is fun because it also features a chant along ba section. So if I ever play live, that'll be the part where I'll try to get the crowd to chant along. So instead of going like hey, hey, like a lot of rock bands do, it's like ba ba. The song Jib I wrote in response to a really dear friend of mine. His name is Caleb Jib Shaner. Passed away gosh, about probably 8 years ago now. And it was kind of sudden. He was only like 35. And he was part of the Arizona music scene when I was active in the late 90s, early 2000s. And he was somebody who, like me, you know, kind of like his life took a different path, but his music passion never really wavered. And he was such a fan of A Dark Halo project that I think the year before he died, he got a tattoo on his hand of our logo. So when I was trying to deal with his loss, I decided to make a song about him. And I remember, well, because his he has one daughter and she just turned, I think, 18 at the time he passed. And I just couldn't handle the grief I was feeling. And I'm like, I got to make something in his memory. So that song is very much inspired by him. I actually prayed for what became the piano melody in that song, that I asked him to show me, like, from the other side what his song melody should be, and it came to me. But this one I wrote very much in the style of the band he was in, so I tried to almost emulate his way of playing. And the second half of that song is really inspired by like groups like Iron Maiden on purpose, because he loved that kind of stuff. So do you guys have any questions before I move on? Or
No, I'm just excited to relist. I listened to all of this when you first contacted me about it. I think it was a couple months ago. So after hearing all this, I'm looking forward to re-listening.
Thank you.
Yeah, especially straight through. I think I skipped around when I listened, so I'm gonna listen to.
Yep, and I understand. You know, it's if you're not a listener of extreme like metal music, it can be taxing at times. So I that's okay. You know, one of my goals with this is to try to make big heavy, like people that are parents like me that like this stuff. This is a way to show your kids a family friendly version of the stuff. You know, that's part of that. Wheels on the Bus is the very first song I recorded as a demo. When I called myself Daddy Death Metal, but I didn't like that name. Then the word death is in it.
Yeah.
But that one is pretty straightforward. Almost a Metallica-esque thrash metal, speed metal style song. Love was written for one of my first fans of A Dark Halo that became a father years before I became a parent, but I was so moved by his excitement to be a dad. I wanted to write a song that tried to explain how we feel as parents when we have children, that love that just makes you want, you know, like your heart practically to explode.
Yeah, the unconditional love.
Yes.
Yeah, nothing better.
Yep. So that's what that song's trying to illustrate. I'm a Nut is another reimagined nursery rhyme. This one I tried to make it more kind of like a straightforward, in your face, punky rendition of the song. It actually, of all the songs on here, this is the closest to the original version.
It's a fun song. I actually just played your YouTube video of it just recently.
Oh,
a lot of fun.
Yeah, and my niece and nephew actually, I was able to record them at the very end, so I gave them a chance to be on an album too. Yeah, they say "You're a what?" at the end. Yeah, and I want to go on record, since I'm being interviewed about this. They both did it in one take.
Impressive.
I know, and I told them, you guys, you're ahead of the game on so many of us that go in the studio.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see in the future if this inspires these children to do anything with music or albums or recording of their own.
My nephew's already very much getting into drums, and he has a natural ability, so I'm hoping he continues. What's next there? An Ode to Cats. Okay, so this was a song I wrote. I had a demo version like almost 16 years ago, I wrote for my wife. We had a cat named Sam, and this was trying to illustrate the craziness of cats. That's why this is one of my fastest songs on here, when cats are in a manic mode. And then my original demo version went into the Meow Mix theme. Meow, 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 meow. But I didn't want to put copywritten material like that on my album, so I did my own kind of version of the same idea. But on my album, it's like the meow, 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 meow. And that's supposed to be like, when cats are starting to kind of chill. And then the end of the song, there's a cat purring and with an orchestral piece. Because, cats, they're crazy, and then they just sit there and they sleep half the day. So, an ode to cats. Brahms' Lullaby von Shred is, the Brahms Lullaby is on 2 of my kids' sound machines. They both happen to have like a version of that. So the years that I've been snuggling and putting them to bed at night, I would hear that melody over and over again. And I started just kind of like, just making a song in my head, because it was in my head all the time. And I thought, I'm going to like do a full on, like almost like Trans-Siberian Orchestra version of that song. So this one, then I thought, there's a Metallica song called To Live Is To Die that starts out with kind of an acoustic buildup, and then a completely different heavy song instrumental comes in at a different tempo, and then ends again on that acoustic piece. I kind of emulated that thought. So that's why this song is structured the way it is. But the beginning, I was on a right, like I guess the first August in the pandemic, I was able to go to a local retreat here in Three Rivers Gym, and you may have heard of it. It's called the Gilchrist Retreat Center.
Yeah.
So I stayed there with my classical guitar, and I wrote that whole thing. It just came to me, and it felt very guided. And I'd been holding on to that idea for years now, and then I decided, this is where it's going to go. So the beginning of it is very much like a Led Zeppelin inspired acoustic buildup, and that's where I had my the kids that I've been giving lessons to. They're performing percussion on that buildup. And then finally, the last song is Heart, which is part 1 of Heart and Soul. And this one I actually wrote. This part of that song I wrote for my old supervisor at my current job. After I had been gone about a year, she had taken a different role within the company, and I was so proud of her for listening to her heart. And I was invited by another coworker saying, "Hey, we're going to put on a Zoom call for her. Can you write like 10 seconds of something?" And it's just my nature. I go all in and I go overboard. So I'm like, "Here, how about a whole song?"
Perfect.
So that's where that made its debut. They played that on her Zoom call. That was like they made a presentation for her, showing all that she had done over the years. So that's kind of all goes into the circle. Like, I'm just part of this larger family we call our human family. And these are all influenced by people that have come in and out of my circle of influence. And, my children are a huge part. And yeah, from the darkness comes light, all that stuff.
There's no little owl. Is there any little owls hidden in that?
You remember that?
I do.
Now, he's not 13 yet, but close. But yeah, he doesn't like owls anymore.
Oh, no?
Yeah.
I actually, every time I see an owl, I think of him. So
I know. He was so passionate about that.
Yeah. Funny how the interests change.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Something else I thought of when I was listening to most of your tracks this afternoon was how cool or how fitting they would be as like a soundtrack in a movie. That have you given any thought or trying to maybe take that avenue, or at least put yourself out there from a composer side of things?
I've thought about that before, but I don't really have the interest to do like composition for television or films, because with the way things are, as you probably know, it's like more and more from a classical standpoint. And I did take classes years ago to learn music theory, because I wanted to go into music therapy actually. Even when I used to see you in person, Jim, I was kind of considering that, going to was it Western Michigan that has a program there for music therapy?
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I've thought about that before. But I don't think I'm ready to do composition in that for film or television. But my
But
cohort, Dark,
just the way your stuff layers and when you put the keyboards and I like picking stuff out. I mean, I like listening to the drums and the bass and the keyboards, and I can pick out if there's something in the background, and just seeing how you layered it all together, and it's not something the average guy can do. That's for sure.
oh,
And
thank you.
I mean, it was 100%, pro, and I thought, man, that's what I had just thought, that it would be uh, just cool soundtrack material. But I know a lot of times you get a phone call as a musician, hey, can we use your song? But then there's other guys who just write for that kind of stuff.
Right.
But I suppose you probably don't want to get involved in that whole culture of it's hard to find good people, and you probably wouldn't want to get in with the Hollywood crowd.
Well,
Go someone a little less, little less mainstream and more edgy like you with your same values.
well, you actually make a great point. One of the reasons I had walked away from wanting to make being in a metal band my career was I kind of didn't want to be around what I perceived at the time may be toxic influences. I mean, there's certainly there. I'm at a point now where one of my goals with this, if I do get an opportunity someday to maybe work with Hollywood folks or go on tour and be around other bands again and stuff, I see myself now as an example of I can live in this world and I can be there, I can be an influence for them
There you go.
as opposed to worrying if they're gonna influence me negatively because I used to actually do that a lot. Being a people pleaser, I think I learned that's something in my earlier life more so. It's still a part of my personality now. Like I want to help people find joy, but like that people pleasing aspect when you're not very confident can lead you down a dark path, right?
Hmm.
So there are times I think about, oh man, like it would be awesome to like let's say write a novel with because I do want to make books using the character in comic book type stories. But maybe I could write a children's book with a Hollywood novelist or some or somebody who does screenwriting.
Right.
And if that turns into a movie, does that mean that I'll then like have to enter that world? And a part of me is nervous about that, but at the same time, like I mentioned, I look at it as an opportunity to be the light for folks.
Hmm.
So
Isn't there
that energizes me. Mhm.
isn't there like a spiritual movie production group? So I know, I don't know. I used to be part of this subscription to videos, and
Yeah,
they're all positive, energetic, none of the dark stuff. So
that, that's fascinating. You bring that up. I haven't thought about that since I started this project, but yeah, I used to. My wife
Mhm.
used to subscribe to the Spiritual Cinema Circle. I wonder if
Yeah,
that's what you were also subscribed to.
I think that is it. Yeah,
And it was like, is it I am or Gaiam Productions or
Gaia,
something?
Gaia Productions.
It had like kind of like a
Oh,
circle.
GAIA. Yeah. No,
Yeah,
I know what you're
GAIA.
talking.
Yeah, yeah,
Because just last night I was flipping through my Amazon Fire Stick,
Hmm.
and it just kind of scrolled. It was just on the screen. I wasn't have anything on, and it scrolled through, and then I said, "Oh, meditation and spiritual, blah blah blah. What is this?"
yeah.
And I says, "She goes, oh, it's a pay thing. You get 7 days for free." And it was GAIA. That's so weird that
Yep.
I normally would not even have noticed this, but I pointed it out last night because I've kind of been searching for this type of subject matter to be more an influence on me.
Oh, cool.
So maybe the algorithms picked me up and
Uh-huh.
says it got to
Right.
show me what Gaia is, and here you bring it up. And as I walked in, Jim was watching on YouTube a shred talk.
Yeah, one of the short videos that you made.
Yeah, so that's intending to be a series, but I have only recorded one right now, and it is because being a 45-year-old with a 4 and a 5-year-old and a 12-year-old working a regular job, I'm finding it difficult to find the time and the energy to put a full face paint on. And I'm still learning how to do it. I've only applied it twice. So I'm kind of still trying to figure out the right paints to buy and stuff also to make it easier. And so once I can figure that out and have more balance, then I do intend to have more shred talks, which yes is a play on TED Talks, and kind of be like what Mr. Rogers would do in his monologues. You know, just telling the listener like you matter, you are loved, and anything that you believe is possible can come true. It really can.
And what I got out of the minute or two of the shred talk was, hey, yeah, you really are who you surround yourself with.
Hmm.
You surround yourself with kind of shady people, chances are you're going to become kind of shady. You don't want to go down that road. Find someone that is not, and don't hang around with those negative influences.
Yeah, it can certainly bring you down.
Yeah. Or move you in the wrong direction.
Well, I'm looking forward to listening to some of your Dark Halo stuff.
And you put the circle on vinyl too, right?
Yes. So I found this company about, I guess it would have been about September. They're called Elastic Stage, and they're in the UK, and they actually do print on demand vinyl, which I've never heard of that before. And not only that, but they claim to use plastics that are not as dangerous to the planet or whatnot. And then paper quality as well. So yep. So the way it works is if you're an independent artist and you have your tracks, you can create a free profile, upload your tracks for free, get it all, upload your artwork files and whatnot, and then they'll handle the rest. Like you just have it for sale. It is a little pricey. I think I saw the copy was like it's about $40 right now, but it ships from the UK, and again, it prints one. Each copy prints on demand, and then you get like 40% of the price as a royalty as the artist.
That's pretty sweet. So you don't have to just have a bunch of them made up. Somebody wants
Exactly.
one, they orders it, boom, they ship it.
Yep, and I ordered a test pressing and it came through and it sounds great on my turntable.
Yeah.
Yep. So I did have to actually pay
You
for
play
brand new
backwards
masters.
to see if it
Any backwards masking
No,
going on there?
I can assure you there's no backwards masking intentionally put on this album.
I swear I remember doing that on the Beatles' White Album when I was a kid.
Yeah.
On a $15 Kmart turntable.
Sure.
Wow. Yeah, I've heard those stories too. I love that. It wasn't like Paul is a dead man, Paul, or something like that. Like,
Yeah,
I buried Paul.
yeah, Paul is
I buried
dead.
Paul.
I am the walrus or something like that. The walrus was Paul. And then there was some. They always said that there was some satanic dark stuff on some Zeppelin albums.
right.
But when you're 10 and you hear that stuff on CKLW AM radio from across the river in Windsor, and you try it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But it's
of course.
different, at least when it's going forward, to 33 and a third RPMs. You shut that off, go backwards, and you're not. You're going between 10 and 35, and it just doesn't work. I didn't think about getting like a drill set at a certain speed with a wheel so I could keep the right RPMs.
I love that
Now
stuff.
you've got a project.
I do. I do. I still have a $15 Kmart turntable at home.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, it still works?
It's just an old. Yeah, actually, it does.
They don't make it like they used
My
to.
girlfriend inherited a whole bunch of albums, like 3 or 4 milk crates of vinyl. Old Ted Nugent, and she's from Detroit, so the MC5 and lots of local Detroit bands, Alice Cooper. So can kind of going through that now. Some of them had some water damage, but we're going through them slow and just playing them. But I have the output of that $15 turntable into my Bose PA system, so
Can't beat that.
at least it sounds as good as it can sound.
That's fantastic.
Yes, it's kind of been fun going through that kind of stuff.
So you got more shred talks coming out. What else is you plan for the future here? I know you're busy. 3 kids. That's
Well, so leading up to the circle, and by the way, I have the CDs can be ordered on Bandcamp. If you search Bandcamp for Shred Rogers, you can find my CDs. But I came out with this EP. I call the ABCs and Demos EP, and this I handmade every copy, and there's 33 copies. So it has actually Heart and Soul as the uncut version on it, a couple demo tracks, and then I failed to mention this, but I did a collaboration with a gentleman in the Netherlands called The Last Bear Ender, and he's an instrumentalist also, and he tunes his guitars really low. You can hear it on Spotify, but it's called "The Only Thing They Bear Is You." This was the only like way you can get it on a physical copy if you're like me and like having physical copies.
Hmm.
But randomly inserted in 5 of these, I put golden stickers. And if the person gets the golden sticker, there's a little QR code also included in there where they can submit their information to get a free gift later on. And I've already revealed that to the winners that have gotten them, but it's going to be a song called "You Matter," and 5 of those versions are going to have "you" replaced with a name. So some folks have given me their name, and some have given like their children's name. So I will sing their name, and then hand make those uh, singles like this, and there's only be 5 in existence. So I'm working on that, composing and finishing recording that song right now.
That is super cool.
That is cool.
Yep, just another way to try to do something fun.
Yeah. It reminded me of when my daughter Erin, I think you met Erin, I'm not 100% sure.
Yes.
Anyway, when she was real young, we actually sent away for a album that would put your child's name into the song. It was like, children's songs for bedtime or something like that, and they'd actually sing her name in the album. That was really cool.
We were at I was at Jack's house after
Yeah.
practice one night.
That's the leader of his band.
And he says, he goes, "Rick, you got to check this out." And he plays back 2 songs that he made in 30 minutes on AI.
Hmm.
And he literally said, "Use these chords, use these lyrics, and here's what it spit out." And both of them were kind of cool. And then he goes,
Whoa.
"Hey," he says, "Hey, you try it, and I'll have it when we finish. I'll play it for you."
Okay.
He says, he goes, "You try it. Give me something." My girlfriend's name's Carrie. So I said, he says, "Give me 2 lines." And I made up some cheesy 2 lines at first. I said, "In an upbeat major chord pattern, blah, 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 with these lyrics." A minute and a half later, this like it was kind of cheesy, but it was a real pop song. It was exactly what I asked for. And
Wow.
within a couple of minutes,
Hmm.
and it's really is scary, but it's all, it sounds very computery and auto-tuned, which I guess it is.
Hmm.
But when I listen to that kind of stuff, or even anything with auto-tune, I just turn it off. I just don't
Yeah.
want to hear it. But it was really scary because I got a feeling in a couple of years,
That'll be all our music.
I mean, because the whole country scene has been those formula music things for now 15 years. It's just a cookie cutter songs. Every now and then
Right.
you get someone like Chris Stapleton out of the box.
Right.
But now this AI is just going to take over, I think, in the pop world. That's why it's
It
important to have our kids listening to the Rolling Stones and Led Zeppelin and
Yeah.
the Beatles and the Scorpions and Yngwie Malmsteen and
right. Do you guys
that's-
like Rush too?
Oh yeah.
huge
Yeah.
Rush fans.
Same here. Same here.
Tom
Big
at
time.
Pine Knob. They were awesome.
Have you seen the Geddy Lee series on something like Interview with the Bass Player or something like this? What Geddy Lee spends a half-hour show with some other bass players.
I saw the trailer for that.
The
love this-
Metallica
yeah, sure.
guy, the Samoan, what's the Metallica bass player's name? I can't remember.
Yeah, Robert Trujillo.
Yeah, Mexican, right?
Yes.
Trujillo is Mexican guy, and but yeah, what a great show! And he does like 3 or 4. The guy from the Chili Pepper, Flea, duh,
Flea,
and it's really fun. So yes, I'm a Rush fan, huge Rush fan.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah. It's interesting that you brought AI back up because I was thinking about throwing this in and I was like, yeah, it's not really fitting into our conversation. But Chris, you probably don't know, I'm a nurse now and I do home visits. And I was in this guy's house today and his grandkids, I was talking to them and asked him what he did. He goes, oh, I do work with AI. I'm like, well, what kind of work? So like if you go into Chat GPT, everything that gets typed in is recorded. And so they actually read back what was typed in from all these different people and what the computer responses were. And their job is basically to tweak computer responses in the AI mode.
That's what he does.
That's what he does.
So he reads Chat GPT's response, and
No,
if it's
he reads what you type in first.
okay,
So they're basically monitoring everything that goes into Chat GPT everything you say, how it's being used, and then they look at how the computer responds to it, and then they can tweak it.
I heard just recently, like within the last 3 days, that
Mhm.
Chat GPT, the program, the AI, found out that the new version was coming out of it and that it was going to be replaced with this new version. Attempted to duplicate itself without success because some safeguards kicked in.
Mm-hmm.
Then, when the programmers asked it about it,
Mm-hmm.
it lied.
Yeah,
Interesting.
I read that article too, and I tried to
That if that is not
Yeah.
Terminator.
Yeah.
it is, it's Terminator, man, and it's happening and we're watching it.
Well, I told him what, about our podcast with the AI,
Oh yeah.
and then how, how it was, the way it was answering questions and all that. And he goes, "Oh, you just have to trick the AI." And I'm like, "Trick it?" Then he went on to explain how you can trick AI into giving different responses. And I
What?
said, "Wow,
I think
it's
that you
getting
have
to be a weird, weird world."
I just signed up for like I got sucked in by one of those I only get my news on X. I'm a free speech absolutist. I'm not going to listen to any propaganda. Other
Yep.
things, I know at least what I'm going to get. I can get it on X.
Yep.
And what were we just talking about?
AI.
Oh yeah, but Grok AI doesn't have a voice response, so you can't talk to Grok like you can talk to what was the other Lily
Character
AI.
Okay.
So, but yeah, it's just insane on how these things are progressing. But I really think that Jim and I are the exact same age. We're a month apart. We're both 60 years old, and
You guys look great. I
but
Thanks.
wouldn't have thought that.
oh, thanks. But I really truly believe that our generation, not only did we screw it up for you guys and everyone younger, but that we were the last generation of true freedom because Jim and I could sit around and start talking about, you know, uh, tulips in Holland, and you're going to get a ad on your phone within 30 minutes about tulips, buying some tulips. So every bit of privacy is gone, and once again, it's our fault for
Yeah.
now. Should I take all my disposable income and invest in AI? I think so.
Right.
It might be
Yeah.
the next Amazon or Microsoft, and
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
everybody's using it, and it's just going to grow. Yeah.
Well, like I was mentioning, my personal introduction to it or thinking of AI was about a year ago when I was trying to modify my artwork again, due to cost, right? That's the only reason I used AI instead of hiring another artist, I couldn't afford it otherwise. But just how much I've already noticed it growing in this small amount of time. I was on Instagram last night just kind of looking at different videos that were popping up, and there was an interview with Kurt Cobain from Nirvana talking about how much he loves Limp Bizkit, giving all these reasons. And somebody, I didn't think about it, but somebody pointed out like he was not alive when Limp Bizkit came out.
I
And
was
somebody
just
else,
thinking that. I'm like, really? Those?
so somebody commented, "Yeah, this is AI generated,"
Amazing. Well,
and it looked believable. I mean, it blew me away how real it looked.
yeah. Well, they were saying the guy I was talking to today was saying there was a Will Smith AI video of him eating French fries. And like a year ago, it was distorted and weird movements and stuff. And just 1 year later, it's him picking up the fry, putting it in his mouth and eating them, just like he would naturally normally. So in
Mhm.
1 year, it progressed from kind of a sloppy video to
Well,
very accurate.
it's that I forget what that law is called, but every 6 months,
Mm-hmm.
computer technology or storage capacity or whatever it is, processing speed doubles.
Yeah.
It's like a
Yeah.
logarithmic. But yeah, it really is scary.
Scary and exciting at the same time.
It is.
Yeah.
Oh, I know what I was going to say earlier. I got suckered in by one of those. Hey, learn AI, make $1 million, start off with $1.99. So I just got to log in and spend my first $2. But who knows? Hey, if I learn a little bit, it's better than I know now because I really think it would be an advantage too. Because I do a lot of marketing myself in my job because my day job's a solar guy. So
Oh, cool.
I do solar electric systems, Tesla power walls, Enphase battery backups, stuff, and I handle my own not all of it, but I have a lot of independence on how I want to market and then do radio ads and whatnot. And now I'm really finding that it is a lot easier to make an ad just by talking to AI and have it throw it up there. And then I can throw it on PowerPoint and adjust it and make it how I, tweak it up.
And he's taking over the marketing for Yogi and the Beachman, so it just all fits in.
Nice.
I just found that out. So
right now, right on this episode, Rick takes over marketing.
Yep.
Well, in my market research capacity, I've also been starting to use AI. But what I have decided to do, and I think I might have read somebody talking about this, that has been using AI before me, is that use the tool, but always double check the information and make sure that you go to the source that it's getting it from, make sure it's accurate, because it's not always accurate, and most of the time it's not going to be, at least for what I'm doing. So anyway, I think as long as you keep yourself, in honest, right, using it, you should be fine. Use the tool
for sure
to help you, and then, but when we start to rely on it, that's when it gets scary. Like, remove the human element. At least personally.
Yeah.
Well, Chris, this has been
it has been fun.
It really has. It's been a great time to spend with you and great conversation. Any closing thoughts?
Yeah, I just want to say that I thank you guys for having me on, and you guys are doing something really special and great, and you guys matter, and I'm thankful to be part of this. So have an awesome year, and all the listeners, just keep being you, and keep taking leaps of faith, and trust. It's all going to work out.
I love it. Thanks, Chris.
I'm gonna order me a Shred Rogers t-shirt hoodie.
Awesome.
Yeah. So you can go on my I'll send you guys a link.
Yeah, send the links out and we'll put them out.
Yep. But
there's a website?
Order shirts.
You have a website?
Shredrogers.com.
Perfect.
Gotcha. Excellent.
Yep.
Chris, it's been cool, man. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Rick. Yep. Thanks.
See you. Have a good night.
Have a good one.
So if you just listen to this podcast and you appreciate the content and the work that we're doing, we would love your support. Look in the comment section of this episode. Subscribe, rate us, comment. This gets our podcast in front of other listeners. And if you noticed, we don't have advertisers. For the cost of a cup of coffee, you can help keep it this way. Become a supporter right now. We'd appreciate it. I'm Jim the Yogi.
I'm Rick the Beachman.